to our 13th day of Vraja-mandala Ekadasi. So today we will be circumambulating Vrindavana, and we'll stop at a couple of places on the way and see how our time goes for spending some time with Damodarastakam. But initially we'll just begin our kirtan.
Namo Vishnupadaya Vijayikaya Yatmane Sri Srimati Vedanta Narayati Namane Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vastracharya Sadarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale Sri Sri Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vrindavandite Triloka Shoka Harini Prashanna Vakta Pangaja Nikunja Rudivasi Rajendra Bhanu Nandini Rajendra Sura Sanyate Tadatarishya Sriyaman Vipaka Takshavartanam Ashoka Dikshavallani Vikana Mandapaside Pradana Bhava Pallava Pradanu Nanditone Paramaya Spurakare Prabhuta Sampanalaya Tadatarishya Sriramam Vipaka Takshavartanam Ananda Mandala Prasanga Mandura Bhuvan Saribhamam Sasambhamam Vedanta Bhanavatana Nirantaranga Shikrita Prakriti Nandanandane Tadatarishya Sriyamam Vipaka Takshavartanam
pradipta dora vigrare
Mukhaprabhakarasthato Sharadendramangale Vichitra Chitra Sankarakshakora Sarvalokshane Tadadarisya Siyama Kripakatashrabhajanam Nandamati Yogane Pramodamana Mandite Priyanuragaram Dive Jalavilasa Pandite Ananya Ganya Kunjaraja Kalakeri Komate Dadari Yama Kripakatashrabhajanam Asheshama Bhavadira Hira Harabushite Prabhuta Shaka Tunga 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 Susyani Shastamanda Hasya Chana Purna Sotya Sagare Tadadarisya Siyama Kripakatashrabhajanam Malavarvari Taranga Ranga Dolate Latadralasya Rolavina Lakshana Jalarulangi Nandano Yamutano Anashike Tadadarisya Siyama Kripakatashrabhajanam Vinamshita Trireka Kandu Kankade Visutramanga Vidura Viratna Kirti Chalola Nila Muntala Prasuna Tosha Dumpite Tadadarisya Siyama Kripakatashrabhajanam Lambamana Pushpameka Ladune Prashashtaratna Kingini Kalakamadhya Manjare Kavindra Sundalandika Varoha Sova Dorake Namadarishya Siyama Kripakatashrabhajanam Vishnu Kananga Padma Charshite Imadrija Puroma Jabirin Shita Paramade Atara Sigiri Viki Kasatmananduri Nake Karanga Vishya Siyamam Kripakatashrabhajanam Akeshwari Priyeshwari Sareshwari Sureshwari Trivena Bharateshwari Pramanasameshwari Rameshwari Chameshwari Pramodakarameshwari Prameshwari Vijadite Shiradite Namostute Iti Mama Gunam Svama Ishanya Bandhanandiri Sarotu Sankatanjana Kripakatashrabhajanam Avekadaiva Sanskita Trirupanama Rashanam Avekadaiva Sindhumangala Pradesanam Yadagarisya Siyamam Kripakatashrabhajanam Sucharudamandalam Suparnaratnakundalam Sucharchitam Chandalam Namami Nandanandanam Sudirganetra Pankajam Shikishikandamodajam Anandanotinovanam Namami Nandanandanam Sinhasihadamoktikam Swatandatam Tapantikam Navamburandachitanam Namami Nandanandanam Karenu Venarantam Jati Karendra Danjitam Dukula Pita Somanam Namami Nandanandanam Tribanga Deha Sundaram Nataduti Sudataram Amulya Ratna Bhushanam Namami Nandanandanam Sugandhananda Saurabham Puro Virajikoshyubham Suratvilakshalam Shamam Namami Nandanandanam Vrindavana Sumandaram Vilasanugavarshasam Surendra Dharmamoshanam Namami Nandanandanam Vrindavana Sunayatam Sada Sutta Pradayatam Shamamana Pralobanam Namami Nandanandanam Srinandanandanasvatam Sakedya Shradmayandita Yaret Bhavat Vindusvaram Labet Padam Viyudmanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Oh Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Go Premanandi Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai Radha Gopinath Ju Ki Jai Radha Binod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Pravishna Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nityalila Pravishna Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Kokishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sabhavoma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Shila Baladev Vidyabhushan Gaudi Acharya ki jai. Jai Shila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. Janaratam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya ki jai. Shila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan, Shri Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal, Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's ki jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Prasad ki jai. Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Siga Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shishi Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kun Giri Govardhana ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Ganga Jamuna ki jai. Brihat Madanga ki jai. Sankirtan Yagi ki jai. Nam Bhajan ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra ki jai. Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai. Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Punamasi Dev ki jai. Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Antadweep Mayapur Simantadweep Gotandweep Madhudweep Koladweep Ritadweep Janadweep Modandweep Rudradweep Abakanavadweep Dham ki jai. Bandiravan, Badravan, Bailvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Kadiavan, Kamyavan, Vraja-mandala ki jai. Vraja-mandala 2023 ki jai. Ekadasi Brat ki jai. Urja Brat ki jai. Damodar Brat ki jai. Niyama Seva ki jai. Chatumasya Brat ki jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantamanapetyam Apaitakrityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabopinidustam Sarvabhutam Munim Hridimana Toshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmarita Rangamadye Kripamayi Tvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Vajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katyena Kapi Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurana Varitino Kalos Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Svabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarat Dikatam Vasidipita Sada Hridare Kandare Swadatu Vasachinandanaha Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. And first of all, offering millions and millions of Dandara pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Astotarzara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Astotarzara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada. And all our divine Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpatarupyascha kripa sindhavevacha patitanam papnibhyo Vaishnave namo namaha. So today is Ekadasi Brat, and everything's a little different on Ekadashi because our minds aren't so cluttered with the um, results of so much different types of foodstuffs. Generally on Ekadashi, even if we don't fast, we take simple prasad. But in our Gaudiya line, generally we fast until midday, until 12 o'clock, and then we take something simple, fruits, etc. So, but really fasting means running very fast to Krishna. That's the purpose of fasting. That's what it means today. How can we think more about Krishna today than previous days? We don't have to cook in the morning especially, and we don't have to take a big endeavor cooking. So we're minimizing our external activities and utilizing that extra time to remember today Vrindavan Dham and the whole Vraja-mandala where we've been wandering through for the last 13 days. So today, traditionally,
we always do a Vrindavana Parikrama. But I must warn you that the Parikrama trail is going to be jam-packed solid. That means you have to sort of jump into the crowd, and then you're carried along practically shoulder to shoulder all the way round by the people. It's a lot of, and this year it's very, very crowded. But we're going to go on a special Parikrama where it's not such a big crowd. It's just us and our minds, etc., going around, Manasi Parikrama. But the actual Parikrama, we should appreciate, is very joyous. They have groups of people coming in from the villages. They come in on their trailers and tractors, and hundreds, thousands of women especially, singing all traditional songs, playing some musical instruments, and the whole way round they're chanting and singing, chanting and singing, chanting and singing. It's a very festive occasion. If you watch this parikrama from the side, it's very joyous and joyful, and very pleasing to Krishna. Krishna is very pleased if we perform any extra activity today that is in focus on his pleasure. Whatever we do today, focusing on hundreds of times more beneficial today on Ekadasi, particularly because it's our Kartik Brat and we're in Vrindavan. So it's very much more auspicious, whatever we choose to do. So we're going to come out of our gate and with our party and take a right turn when you come down the ramp of Gopinath Bhavan. Jamuna Devi is in front of us, and we're going to head to the right, which is south. And we're going to walk along with the crowd, be jostled along, and we'll somehow or other get through the very narrow entrances around Keshigat. When we walk along, it becomes a very small trail just above the Jamuna River. And if it's not flooded, we can keep going on that trail. If it's flooded, we have to go up and around the back. But we'll come through some very narrow doorways. And once you get into the doorway out the other end is also very narrow. So I can remember in previous years almost being crushed to death within those two spaces in the rooms there. You get inside of a small room and thousands are coming in behind you, and they're going out very slowly out the other door. So it's definitely have to be holding your breath to actually get through the other door. And then we come along the little side beside Jamuna Devi, and then there's beautiful Shiva Lingam, which we can honor as we go through. Always to remember as many personalities as we can as we're going around, all the different acharyas, etc., the different temples that we're circumambulating, the principal 7 temples, Madan Mohan and Gokulananda, Radharaman, Sevakunj, Radha Damodar, Krishna Balaram also, and what other ones? Radha Gopinath, Sham Sundar, Govinda, yes, Govinda Dev Temple. So all of these temples we should be appreciating. We're circumambulating all of this is who we're circumambulating. We're circumambulating the entire area of Vrindavan Township. And of course, today being Kartik, all the deities, the doors will be open and all the deities will be there for our darshan. We can take darshan of the deities there. So now we come through Keshigat, and there's a beautiful shalagram, and there's at the end of Keshigat there's a deity of Jamuna Devi. There's only actually 3 deities of Jamuna Devi in Braj that I know of anyway, and one of them is here, and there's a Shiva Lingam here also, but there's a bell we can all ring and remember the worship of Jamuna Devi by Krishna. Jamuna Devi is always trying to bring pleasure to Krishna. It's described that Jamuna Devi goes blackish because of Krishna's color. She's blackish, whereas Ganga Devi is golden color, more bright, light color because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's color. So Jamuna is darkish, blackish because of Krishna's hue, is like a monsoon rain cloud. So we have darshan there of Jamuna, and we remember all the Keli pastimes, the Jal Krida pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. We can remember them just in an instant, you know, what we've heard, what we have had described to us, and what we've read in the how they're all splashing Krishna from thousands of sides, and Krishna has to manifest thousands of arms to reciprocate with them. And they're even trying to push water up Krishna's eyes because Krishna is doing that to them. So it's a furious battle. The gopis aren't pushovers. They're not like, you know, easy people to actually bully or push around. They really have strong um, moods towards Krishna. And whatever pleases Krishna, so this is pleasing to Krishna and Radhika. So these Jalkrida pastimes take place, and we remember that when we come past Jamuna. So then we come around the corner, and if we take a little gully to our right, extreme right, we come out at the Gokulananda and Radharaman temples. That's where it leads, around that way, if you're familiar with the Parikrama. But we're going to come into quite a large open space. And there's generally time for us with our Parikrama party, even when we're traveling with more than 1,000 people, to actually sit down there for a few minutes and hear the pastime of the Keshi demon. Keshi demon was a massive demon, and it's one of the last demons that was killed by Krishna in Vrindavan. The very last demon was Vyomasura. But just before Vyomasura, Keshi demon. Keshi demon had been harassing Braj since before Krishna was born, when Parjanya, the grandfather of Krishna, his paternal grandfather, was residing in Nandagaon. And he left Nandagaon because of harassment by the Keshi demon. The Keshi demon was furious, huge horse demon. And it's described that his mane would be touching the clouds, and he would bray in such an aggressive, harsh way and frighten. Even women would have miscarriages because of his braying, and the cows also. So he was a very furious demon. And of course, as all the demons, Kamsa had defeated him. So he wasn't as strong as Kamsa. When I say this each time, it should make us appreciate how strong a demon is Kamsa. He's bigger than any of the demons except Putana. So Kamsa is a huge demon. So then Parjanya, he leaves with his 5 sons, Abhinandan, Upananda, and Nanda, and Sunanda, and Nandanandan, and his 2 daughters, Sunandini and Nandini, and his wife, etc., that they all leave for, we can just appreciate just for a moment the family tree of Parjanya, because Parjanya, he's manifesting from Devabag. Devabag, originally, he had 2 wives. He has a Brahmani wife, and from his Brahmani wife comes Surya Sen. Surya Sen is the cousin brother of Parjanya. And then from Surya Sen, on the Brahminical side, comes Vasudev in Mathura. And from the Gopi wife, comes Parjanya. And then from Parjanya comes his 5 sons, who therefore are the cousin brothers of Vasudev. So if you've got that picture, it's very helpful to appreciate, because when we're thinking about Krishna and we're thinking of all the personalities in Vrindavan, we're given so much information about these personalities, especially if we read that beautiful Radha Ganadesh Deepika book that I've described before by Rupa Goswami. You can just pass that red book to me. Yes, thank you. Just show them what the book I'm talking about. Yes, if you get an opportunity to read this very beautiful little book, this describes all the relationships that Krishna and the gopis have, and who are their mothers, who are their fathers, etc. It's an ecstatic book. It's really, it takes us right into the heart of Vrindavan, because Krishna, he's related to practically every person in Vrindavan, are his first, second, third, fourth cousins. And when he's a very small baby, all his relatives are demanding that because I'm his relative, I have to hold him.
So Krishna is very happy being passed around amongst all his relatives and so on. So this is the mood of Vrindavan. It's completely a family, and it's all Krishna's eternal family. So Parjanya, he moves with his 5 sons to Gokul. Gokul is on the other side of the Jamuna. Nandagan is near north of Govardhan. So he comes, and of course, this moving around for the residents is very conducive for cow grazers because they can move through the different forests, and they're camping with they have these huge wagons that they travel on, and they create encampments wherever they go. It's described they make like a crescent shape encampment with all the cows making up the open space. And then they'll put trees and guards around the external edge of the cows. So they have a very safe nomadic village established almost every single night. And because they're moving all the time, but still it's described that all the gopis, etc., they rise very early, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they start singing and chanting, and they collect the cows and they start milking, then they're churning the butter, etc. Even though they're on the road, they're performing all these village activities. Nothing stops because you can't stop with the cows. The cows have to be milked every day, and the milk has to be utilized every day. So as they're traveling, it's a whole village movements that are going on. So they take their time to travel and they reach Gokul. And there's an ancient palace that Parjanya, he inhabits. It has 84 incredible pillars of that palace. And this is Parjanya's original, or not original, but one of his ancestral homes. So all the residents, they take up their places around there, and Nanda Baba, because I said originally that he's proclaimed by Parjanya, he's like given a special abhishek on a particular day, Nanda Baba, and declared that now he is the future king of Braj, because Parjanya is getting old. Parjanya means cloud, a cloud of mercy. Parjanya is a jovial type of a person with snow white hair, and Krishna absolutely adores his grandfather. But Parjanya originally wanted to make Upananda, who's the eldest son, the king of Braj. But all the brothers decide, no, Nanda Baba is most qualified for this task of being the king. He has logic and he has affection for everybody, even more than we have. So this is very wonderful to appreciate how the sons are all glorifying the middle son. So Nanda Baba, he takes up residence in that palace. And Parjanya, he knows that Nanda Baba is going to give birth to an incredible son here. The other sons, they already have, Upananda and Abhinanda, they already have children, etc. But Nanda doesn't have children at this time. But after that, they've been in Gokul for a short time, just for a year or two, then Mother Yashoda, she shows the signs of pregnancy. And Parjanya knows this is going to be the most glorious of all his grandchildren. He already has heard the aerial voice proclaiming that. But it was because of the Keshi demon that they actually came to Gokul. So this Keshi demon is roaming. And one day, Madhumangal, he approaches Krishna and says, oh, the reason why you get all these ladus and all the gopis bringing you different gifts and so on is just because you have a peacock feather and a flute. If you give me your peacock feather and a flute for a day, then I will get all the ladus. I will get all these presents from the gopis. It's only because of this reason that they're giving it to you. So Krishna says, no problem. And your yellow dhoti also. So Krishna says, no problem. And he immediately gives Madhumangal his yellow dhoti and his flute and his peacock feather. So Madhumangal starts to strut around in Vrindavan, showing his greatness, and the gopis, they're reciprocating, they're playing the game too, they're coming with ladus and everything, and Madhumangal is very happy, and all the cowherd suckers, they're all laughing and joking. Madhumangal is hasyaras, uh, parihas, he's always joking, he's always making jokes, and he's making all the suckers laugh constantly.
So Madhumangal is strutting around like this, and then suddenly Keshi appears on the horizon. And Keshi, his nostrils are blazing practically with power, and he's neighing. He's making such a ferocious neighing sound, and his tail, he's put his tail up, and it's pushing the clouds away. The demigods, they're terrified of Keshi. They're actually terrified of all these demons. These demons have defeated the Devas previously. They've defeated the Devas. They're that strong. They're mighty demons. And Krishna and Yogamaya have allowed them to enter Braj to become, because no one else can kill them. No one else can purify them except Krishna. But the Devas, even though they've seen him kill Agasura, Bakasura, Pralambasura, Putana, etc., they're still afraid for Krishna's welfare. They're still not sure that Krishna will be able to defeat this particular demon. So this demon, Keshi, he's been told by Kamsa, you look for the small boy with a golden dhoti, and he's got a flute, and he's got a peacock feather. So he spies Madhumangal. Madhumangal realizes, oh my God, this demon thinks I'm Krishna. And he becomes totally, totally terrified. And he runs to Krishna and says, I no longer want to play this game. You take the flute, you take the peacock feather, you take your dhoti back now. And Krishna strokes his head, and he takes these, and he realizes that this Keshi demon wants some business now. This Keshi demon has become serious. So Krishna's standing there, and he's got his hand on the shoulder of Madhumangal at this time. Madhumangal is terrified, but this Keshi demon comes roaring towards Krishna. Krishna's not even concerned for this Keshi demon. He doesn't show one whisper of fear. And when this Keshi demon comes close, he starts kicking his legs towards Krishna. And he swings around just like Dhenukasura did. And Krishna casually, with his left hand, grabs one of his hind legs and he throws him. It's described 100 bow lengths, which is about 600 feet. Keshi demon goes rolling, rolling, rolling on the ground. And he loses consciousness from the roll because he was running so fast. And Krishna just swings him around. And he gets up, and now he's absolutely infuriated. And he runs back with his mouth wide open. He wants to practically swallow. He has the capacity to swallow Krishna. He has such a big mouth. He's a ferocious demon. And he comes charging towards Krishna. And Krishna says, come on, eat some of this. And he puts his left arm into the mouth, directly into the mouth of Keshi demon. And when Shukadev Goswami is narrating this to Parikshit Maharaj, he's seeing on the expression on Parikshit Maharaj's face that he becomes very tense when he's thinking that Krishna's arm is going to go into the mouth of Keshi demon. But then Sukadev quickly describes his arm is like a red hot iron rod inside the mouth, and all his teeth immediately drop out. All Keshi demon's teeth immediately drop out on touching that iron-like arm. They just fall out. So Parikshit, he's like satisfied. He's realizing that Krishna is not going to be hurt here. And then Krishna, he blocks off the life air from Keshi demon. Keshi demon, his eyes start to roll. He's trying to get some air, and he passes stool, he passes urine. There's no more gates that are open for air to come into his body. He's blocked completely. And then Krishna just thrashes him on the ground, and he loses his life. And then Krishna takes his arm out, and it's described specifically that Krishna exhibits not even a particle of pride in doing this heroic act. The gopis don't see this. The sakhas, they see that, but he doesn't exhibit any pride. The demigods immediately start showering him with flowers, but Krishna shows no pride at all in this act of killing the Keshi demon. So we come to this place of Keshi Ghat, and this is the place actually where Keshi demon was chastised by Krishna. This is the place where he lost his life. So this ghat is enormous. It's one of the most beautiful ghats remaining in Vrindavan. Many steps there, many thousands of pilgrims can utilize those steps and have access to the Jamuna in a very simple way. So we are remembering this pastime of the Keshi demon and how Krishna thoroughly chastised him and took his life. There was no remorse for Keishi. Keishi was a wicked, brutal demon. And so he reached his final destination. So we hear this pastime, and then we continue walking on our Vraja-mandala, on our Vrindavana Parikrama, and we go down some gullies, and then we come up to a straight pass, and then we walk past the Jagannath temple on our right, and we can remember Lord Jagannath even has entrance into Vrindavan. He goes to the Gundicha every year. This is like um, Sundarachal Vrindavan. This is Vrindavan. So Jagannath's presence is definitely there. So we come past the Jagannath temple. We don't usually stop, and we just keep going. Now, unfortunately, all the road is sealed with bitumen. Previously, not so many years ago, in the early 90s, it was sand all the way around, beautiful gray, soft sand. And the feet would be very much nursed all around. But now, if you walk on this bitumen after one parikrama, your feet become blistered. They put the bitumen there because the locals, they want to access Jamuna's sand for their construction, etc., their building. So they drive their tractors and trailers, and they're always in a big hurry, of course, because they want to make money. Making money is the hurry of life. So they're running to the Jamuna to collect more sand. Jamuna Devi, she throws up more sand every single year when it floods. So there's always an abundant amount of sand there. But the locals are pulling out so much sand in their tractors and trailers, etc. That's the reason it's so crowded with tractors and trailers. But perhaps today, being Ekadasi, they all know that hundreds and thousands, more like millions of people will be doing parikrama today. So perhaps they won't bring their tractors. We think that, but they still do. We hope that, but still they might do. So we're walking around and we go through many areas. And then we come to another place where we generally stop with our parikrama party in the during this Kartik Parikrama. And this is the Chaitanya Baitak. This is where Mahaprabhu sat down when he himself was performing this Vrindavan Parikrama. And we know that Mahaprabhu, he met this Sanodian Brahmana, this Brahmana who had had connection and relationship with Madhavendra Puripad. Mahaprabhu was so much in ecstasy to be in the association of this Brahman, because Madhavendra Puri, his potency was so powerful that he had influenced the complete life of this Brahmana. And Madhavendra Puri stayed with this at this Brahmana's house, because when Mahaprabhu arrives, he has some conversation with this Sanodian Brahmana and realizes this Brahmana has so much knowledge of what is Brajaras, what is Bhav Bhakti. Madhavendra Puri, he's the Prem Ankur of Bhav Bhakti. Before Madhavendra Puri, there was no exhibition publicly of Bhav. There was no description of what is Bhav Bhakti. There was simply Vaidhi Bhakti and this Aishwarya worship, as we discussed yesterday about Lakshmi Devi. There was no history of sadhaks attaining this stage of Bhav until Madhavendra Puri was gifted with these moods of Bhav Bhakti. So he's described as the Prem Ankur, which is the seed. And then his disciple Ishwara Puri is like the first sapling or the first tree. And of course, Ishwara Puri is the Gurudev of Sachinandan Gaurahari Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu makes this line very clear that Bhav has to come from somewhere, this Bhav Bhakti. So it comes from Madhavendra Puri. So the Sanodian Brahmana, he had had significant association directly with Madhavendra Puri. So all of these truths was flowing in his heart. And when Mahaprabhu became so grateful to meet him, and this Sanodian Brahman immediately offered, I want to take you to all the forests of Vrindavan. So this is all described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. in the Madhya Lila. The pastime of Madhavendra Puri is Madhya Lila 4, and Rai Ramananda is Madhya Lila chapter 8. So I think chapter 3 perhaps is describing more about Madhavendra Puri's life, as well as chapter 4 is his principal activities of finding the Gopal deity, etc. So Mahaprabhu, he's been taken by this Synodian Brahmana, and he sits here at this Baitak. Baitak means a sitting place, or a place. There's many Baitaks in Braj. We come to Nanda Baitak in Nanda Bhavan, and it's where an assembly of devotees would sit. So Mahaprabhu, he's sitting there with this Brahmana. And what are Mahaprabhu's feelings? Mahaprabhu, of course, is directly Krishna himself. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritya Kladini Shakti Asmad Ekatmanav Api Bhuvi Deha Bedam Krita Chaitanyaikam Prakatam Adana Tadvayam Chekamaptam Radha Bhav Tudisavalitam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. So Krishna and Radha have combined to become one. But Krishna is the Shaktiman. He is that potency that is providing the Shakti. So Krishna wants to taste, we said yesterday, his own sweetness that Radhika is perceiving. These three desires that I didn't describe very much yesterday, but this Shiradaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrishovanaiva, the greatness of Radhika, this Pranaya Mahima, what is it? Adbhuta, what's the name? Shiradaya Mahima Kidrishovanaiva, Swadyena Adbhuta Madhurima. This Adbhuta Madhurima. Adbhuta means astonishing. Adbhuta Madhurima, these astonishing sweet qualities that Radhika perceives within Krishna, is what Krishna wants to experience. What is it in me that she is seeing that is sending her into this Divyan Mad, these extreme high states? And then Adbhuta Madhurima, what's the next line? Sokyam kasyam mad anubhavita kidrisham vetiloba. This sokyam means happiness. What is the happiness that Radhika is experiencing by receiving the sweetness of my love? So he wants, that's his final desire. This is why he comes, to fulfill these three desires. And principally these three desires are fulfilled in Puridam. So Mahaprabhu, he's sitting there in Vrindavan, and he's directly Krishna, but already this Radha Bhav has been ignited in his heart at Godavari when he meets Rai Ramananda. This time, when he's in Vrindavan, is about 1515 or 1516. It's the Mahaprabhu takes sannyas in 1510. Then he goes to Puri. Then he spends 2.5 years in South India. During that sojourn, towards the end, he meets Rai Ramananda, and he invites Rai Ramananda to come back to Puri and spend the rest of his life with him, because Rai Ramananda, of course, is Vishaka Devi, and Vishaka is able to encourage these moods of speciality towards Radhika, which the moods that Mahaprabhu is having access to, which will give him an understanding of his own attraction and beauty, which is what he wants to taste. And then Mahaprabhu, he goes to Ramkeli, tries to go to Vrindavan that way, but Sanatana Goswami says, no, don't go that way. That's in 1515. He meets the Rupa and Sanatan in Ramkeli. And then he comes back, he meets Raghunath Das at Panihati, or in that area. And then he comes back again to Puri. And then after a few months, then he decides, yes, he'll go to Vrindavan through the Jarikanda forest. So he walks with Balabhadra Bhattacharya, his servant, through the Jarikanda forest, chanting all the time, giving prayam to even the tigers and the lions, etc. And then he reaches Varanasi, stays with Tapana Mishra, and then he goes, he is aware of Prabodhananda Saraswati, who is the Mayavad sannyasi there. but he doesn't take any action against him at this time. Prakash, yes, sorry. Prakashananda Saraswati, thank you. Who's sometimes mistaken to be Pramodhananda Saraswati. Yes, Prakashananda Saraswati, the Mayavad sannyasi there. And then he stays there just a couple of weeks. And then he goes to Prayag. He stays there just briefly also in Prayag. And then he comes to Vrindavan. So this is where he is now. He hasn't met Rupa Goswami yet. He's met them in Ramkeli, but he hasn't given his teachings to Rupa Goswami or Sanatan Goswami yet. He does that on the way back when he leaves from, and he only stays in Vrindavan for a brief period of time, it's described, perhaps 12 or 14 days, because he's aware that his identity of Krishna is getting stronger. When he's in Vrindavan, he sees the cows, he sees the Jamuna, he sees all the udipan, all the stimulus to remind him of when he was in the form of Shamananda, Brajendranandan, and all of these reminders, or udipans, it's called, the stimulants, to remind him of his Krishna identity. But he's already been given the wake up, so to speak, of this Radha Bhav. This Radha Bhav was with him in Navadvip, but it never actually really blossomed fully until he was in the company of Vishaka. All the way, Krishna is showing us this, like I just described with Madhavendra Puri. This Bhav has to have someone from where it's coming from. Krishna is very wonderful to arrange this path. In other words, individually, we can't suddenly think, oh yes, I know something new or something of that nature. We can't become speculative. It all has to be coming in what we call kram, gradual line. So this Radha Bhav had been excited in the heart of Mahaprabhu by Vishaka Devi, by Ramananda Rai. And then he comes to Vrindavan after this. So he wants to just immerse himself in thoughts of Radhika and the identity of Radhika, to reveal to him his own inner beauty and speciality. But he feels this sham ras, or sham hue, is coming stronger. So he only stays a short time. So he sits here.
2 months.
No, not 2 months. Not 2 months at all. 2 weeks. 12 days to 2 weeks. Yes, only this amount of time, shorter. And he stays in a Kruragat. But it's an exceptionally brief time. But in that time, he visits all the principal 12 forests with this Synodian Brahmin. So where we've come today is one of his baitaks, where he's sitting down and he's perhaps hearing from the Synodian Brahmin. It doesn't say exactly what his activity is there, but he's meditating there on Krishna's pastimes within Vrindavan. So this is the Mahaprabhu Baitak, that we sit and we hear something of the glories of Mahaprabhu, very brief glories, because he's only there for a short. After this, he goes to Prayag and he stays there for 12 days at the Dashmeda Ghat with Rupa and Anupam. Anupam is there at that time, and he speaks all these profound truths to Rupa Goswami. And then he goes from there, then he sends Rupa to Vrindavan. Then he goes on to Varanasi, which is only a short distance from Prayag. How far is, 100 miles, something like that? It's
Not so far.
not so far. It's quite close. Then he goes on to Varanasi, and then he stays in Varanasi, Gora, for 2 months. He stays in Varanasi for 2 months, and he's speaking all that time practically to Sanatan Goswami. And he's giving that Sanatan Shiksha, which we hear in 5 chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita, starting from Madhya Lila chapter 1 through chapter 21, going through until chapter 26, perhaps. And that Sanatan Shiksha is very extensive teachings that Mahaprabhu does. At that time, this is when Mahaprabhu purifies Prakashananda, Saraswati and the Mayavadi sannyasis. So always try to have the picture, an image of Mahaprabhu's journey. We should know Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is the avatar for this age. We know so many historical facts about different, aspects of history, etc. Why are we not very familiar with this movements of Mahaprabhu? Always remember the date of 1510, because that's when he takes the renounced order. That's when he swims across the Ganga and goes to Katwa and takes all his hair off. He doesn't have a seeker. He just travels without seeker at that time. None of the sannyasis at that time, because they were mostly coming from a Mayavad school. So Mahaprabhu also accepts that sannyas order from Keshav Bharati, who is like a Mayavad. And then he tries to go to Vrindavan, but he gets tricked by Nityananda, and Advaitacharya brings him back to Shantipur. And then he spends 7 or 8 days in Shantipur, and all the residents of Navadvip, they all come and they have darshan, first time, of Mahaprabhu with no hair. He's shaved completely. But Mahaprabhu is completely effulgent. He's totally in ecstasy. And all the devotees, they reciprocate. Mother Sachi Devi comes. Everyone comes except one person. Who doesn't come? Vishnu Priya. Even the dogs come, my Gurudev described. Everybody comes except Vishnu Priya, 16-year-old young girl. She's denied entrance at that time. That's not correct at all. And Mahaprabhu is the most correct sannyas. And then from there, with Nityananda Prabhu, Damodar, Pandit, and Jagadananda and Mukunda, they make their way down to Puri. And then Mahaprabhu begins his South Indian sojourn for about 2.5 years practically, visits so many temples in South India, purifies the Tattvavadis, purifies the Buddhists, purifies all kinds of people on the way back. Many pastimes. And then he comes back to Puri, and then he comes 1515, Ramkeli. This is the date of 1515 in Ramkeli, where he meets Rupa and Sanatan. And then he goes all the way back again to Puri, and then he comes Jarakanda forest, which is like if you're looking at the map of India, Navadvip is straight up, so to speak, and he was going to go around the back to Vrindavan, but this way he cuts across diagonally through Maharashtra, and it comes through the center of India, this Jarikanda forest, very wild forest even today, filled with dacoits and bandits, etc. And then Varanasi, then Prayag, then Vrindavan briefly, and then back again to Prayag, meeting Rupa Goswami, and then into Varanasi, meeting Sanatan Goswami for 2 months. And then Rupa Goswami, he leaves and comes down to Puri to meet Mahaprabhu, but he misses Sanatan Goswami on the road because there's 2 roads. One road goes along the Ganga, and one road is the more like the main road. So Sanatan took the main road, but he doesn't meet Rupa at that time. So this is just something of the geographical, or the what do you call it? The chronological journey and path. So it's helpful for us when we understand that, because it's like the backdrop. It's like knowing the 12 forests of Vrindavan. When you've got that settled in the vision of the consciousness, when that's like there as a baseline, so to speak, then all the rest can actually come onto that platform very simply. So we should try to appreciate that, the movements of because when he comes back after Vrindavan, then he stays for 18 years in Puri. He doesn't go out of Puri again. And it's described that those first 6 of those 18 years, he's very much engaged in Harinam, Sankirtan, festivals and so on. But the last 12 years is when he goes very internal, very deep into recognizing these 3 desires, fundamental desires that he has, and in the Gambhira. So he stays there at that time. So these are some pastimes about Mahaprabhu in the chronological sequence, which I feel is very helpful for the devotees to appreciate. And, you know, perhaps one day someone will just enumerate very simply, you know, some essays for that so that devotees can read again and again and again and become familiar with that. So we'll see. So Sachinandan Gaurahari ki jai, Chaitanya Baitak ki jai. So we went to Keshigat and Chaitanya Baitak. Now, generally on the Parikrama, we don't stop again. We just run for home from this point onwards around the Parikrama. And of course, as I said, it's very crowded and there's many places on the way that we could stop. But generally, actually, it's a phenomena I want to share with you, that it's 7 miles the extent of the Parikrama. And you know, if you walk slowly or if you walk very fast, it still takes 2 hours. If you're just walking, if you're not stopping at the places, if you decide, right, I'm going to do a short Parikrama, a quick one, it'll take you 2 hours. And if you decide, no, I'm going to walk really slowly, I'm just going to take my time, it'll still take you 2 hours. It's phenomenal. We should understand that the Dham actually expands and contracts. When Krishna was present, if he suddenly wanted to go 40 miles across, the Dham would contract so that he could just go in a moment. So the Dham is like an unfolding lotus. It's described like that it expands and contracts according to the desired circumstances to create the beautiful flavor of the various leelas and so on. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Baitak. And then we walk around, we come to the main road into Vrindavan. There's the Krishna Balaram temple. We pass on the way there, Prabhupada's Samadhi. And then we keep on going down through. And many beautiful trees are still present in Vrindavan. And then we come around onto the last phase and we come past the ISKCON Goshala, the back of the ISKCON Goshala. And we come across so many beautiful we come to Kaliyakrida, that Kaliyagat, and then we just keep on coming and we arrive back in our Gopinath Mandir. So all this takes approximately, will take us today because we stopped at these places, and today in particular it's very crowded, so it will have probably taken us much longer than 2 hours. Anyway, we return about 11:30 midday, and then the devotees, they prepare for a brief Ekadasi prasad, and then that's the parikrama for the day concluded. So Vrindavan Dham Parikrama Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi. So now we can have a few minutes left to appreciate the Damodarastakam. And like we've been describing, I'm not in a big hurry to get through this Damodarastakam. I'm not thinking, oh, I have to complete this Damodarastakam overview or study with you in this short time that we get. Tomorrow is an official rest day, so we can spend the whole day on Damodarastakam. But we should understand perhaps something of the sequence, at least in context to what we were discussing the last 2 days about Namamishwaram Satchit Ananda, that Aishwarya, initial Mangalacharyan, and then it's going straight into the very personal contact with Krishna. His Makara-shaped earrings are kissing his cheeks. And then after that contact with Krishna, we're going straight into the Leela, where Krishna is running from his mother Yashoda. If you have the translation, I'll just read the translation of this first verse again. I offer obeisances unto Sri Krishna, the possessor of all potencies, whose beautiful form. You see, yesterday we discussed something, we touched on his beautiful form. My Gurudev chose those 4 verses, and then he added, 3 verses, and then he added a 4th verse from Bhagavatam to bring out the beauty of Krishna's exquisite form. And we've described daily how the name Krishna means all attractive. So this all attractive form is written very much described by the commentators, etc. So I offer obeisance unto Sri Krishna, the possessor of all potencies, whose beautiful form of entirety of concentrated existence, knowledge, and bliss. So this Sat Chit Ananda of Krishna's form, this is giving us the platform again. On his cheeks, Makara-shaped earrings are swinging playfully. His infinite brilliance shines forth from his most splendid residence. We even get contact with the environment, his residence there. The transcendental abode, Sri Gokul. So I've described a little bit about Gokul. We actually went to Gokul and we discussed many of the pastimes of Krishna, but I didn't really describe much of the atmosphere of Gokul directly itself. It's such a charming forest. It's where Rupa Goswami spent much of his time traveling amongst the trees in Gokul to absorb the Balya Lila pastimes of Krishna. Krishna only stays in Gokul for like 2.5 years. And then again, on the inspiration from Upananda and Abhinanda, the brothers of Nanda, they all decide the whole village should go back again to take up our traditional residence in Nandagaon, because there's been so many demons come here. Putana, Trinavrata, even Bakasura, Shakatasura, the two Arjun trees falling down. So many demons are here. We should actually go to Nandagaon again. So then there's a description in the Ananda Vrindavan Champa of that beautiful journey. That takes them 6 or 8 months to actually return to Nandagaon, because they're cow grazing every day. There are millions of cows along the way. They're a nomadic race of people. Braja means moving around. That's what the name Braja means. It means to move around. So they're moving around in the forests of Vrindavan. And this is so conducive for Krishna's restless nature. Krishna adores this because he has much more freedom. When he's actually in the circle of Nandagaon Palace, then it's a little bit more restrictive for him. He actually first takes the calves out at a place called Vasant. Vasant means springtime. And if you travel out to Govardhan, you go through it's almost like a township now of Chatigara, which is where the Agra road cuts through from Delhi. And then you cross over there you take maybe 7 or 8 miles and you come to one village called Ral, R-A-L. Then just after that village of Ral, there's another village called Basant. And that village is when there's a direct atmosphere of Govardhan pervading. If you travel on that road, there's a bridge that crosses over the canal of the Jamuna. And when you're on the crest of that bridge, you can see the water tank of Radhakund, and you can catch the whole flavor of Govardhan, the atmosphere of Govardhan, because it's completely different to Vrindavan. It's intriguing when you move around in Vrindavan through the different forests. Each has such a unique atmosphere and speciality, especially between Vrindavan and Giriraj Govardhan. When you come into Giriraj, it's described in the Shastra that Kali Maharaj cannot make entrance within like a 2-mile radius of Giri Maharaj. Kali Maharaj's influence is not there. And it's very interesting that not many people choose to actually live in the township of Govardhan. It's filled with dharmshalas to accommodate the various pilgrims for 1 or 2 or 3 days, however much time they're going to spend doing the parikramas. But as far as actually living there, very few people, like many thousands and thousands of people, want to live in Vrindavan township. They set up their business, etc., and they move in those big condominiums, etc., and they live in Vrindavan, but they don't live in Govardhan. It's very much a place of just holy parikrama. Everyone comes just for, and if you want to even purchase something like a pair of spectacles, you practically have to go to Mathura to do it. They don't have the infrastructure of a township. They have mostly selling sweet shops and puris and ladus, etc., and tea shops. That's what the pilgrims want, and maybe beads and things like that. and little things for puja, but not very much for someone who's actually wanting to live there. So this is the dynamic today. Therefore, Kali Maharaj is not encouraged to actually have entrance into this village of Govardhan. It's very much protected, and shastrically it's proclaiming. Sanatan Goswami, he says this in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, that Govardhan is protected from Kali Maharaj. So as you rise in this little village of Vasant to the top of this hill that crosses over the canal, you can see the water tank, and you can almost appreciate instantly the distinction in atmosphere between Govardhan and where you've come from, Vrindavan. It's remarkable. It's really fascinating to appreciate. And it's at this little village of Vasant when all the gopas and gopis, they stopped there with their millions of cows, that Krishna first takes out the calves. It's from this village. And also nearby this Vasant village is the place where he killed Bakasura, this duck demon or stork demon, crane demon. Yes, this is where he killed that. That's near this village of Vasant. So that's the some of the jog, and that's when the. So this is the backdrop of Gokul that we're describing now a little bit. Now we've described those first or 2 lines of the stanza. Now it's coming to the second 2 lines of the stanza. He was afraid of Mother Yashoda because he smashed the earthen pot of yogurt. So we're getting into a different dynamic immediately. We're going away from his beauty. Now, what is happening here? Krishna is directly afraid of Mother Yashoda. This is absolutely astonishing. This is written by someone in Chakshush Manvantara. How could he know that mood of Madhurya? Because Krishna can only be afraid of his mother in Madhurya realm. He's not afraid of anything outside of Vrindavan. But in Vrindavan, he's definitely afraid of his mother. So is Balaram. So are all the cowherd boys. There has to be some authority with the kids. So it's Yashodama. When he saw her coming, he leapt down from the grinding mortar and ran away. Nevertheless, Mother Yashoda ultimately caught hold of him from behind, for she ran faster than he did. In other words, her love for Krishna is greater than Krishna's love for Mother Yashoda. It's the same with the gopis. Their love for Krishna is greater than Krishna's love for them. This is what Krishna wants to be inspired by and taste. He wants to taste the greatness of their love for him. What is the nature of that? Krishna is called Bahusaka. That means he loves everybody. He loves all living entities. He's manifest as the supersoul within all jivas, all living entities. But Mother Yashoda, she has practically one fixation on Krishna. And the gopis certainly have one fixation on Krishna. They almost don't have relationships. They have relationships, of course, with other people, but it's nothing like to the intent. Krishna is the entire center of their existence. Whereas Krishna has many personalities who are predominating his consciousness. And principally, of course, is Sri Radhika. Sri Radhika is the main personality, but nevertheless, he still has that mood of Vatsalya Bhav towards Mother Yashoda, etc. So this is something of the backdrop of Gokul. Now we're coming back to the pastime itself. So yesterday I read, I think, up to about page 21, when it was describing these 4 verses of the beauty of Krishna. So now I'm going to read from page 21. All of this is so valuable. I can't remember exactly where I stopped yesterday. I'll read from the bottom of page 20. In the first verse of Damodarastakam,
Sri Satyabrat Muni describes the very same enchanting form of Sri Krishna as a 2.5-year-old baby running away from Mother Yashoda. So, what mercy did Satyabrat Muni have to witness that millions of years ago? That's 7 cycles have gone on. This is the 7th cycle within the um, Vaivashvatu Manu. This 7th Dwarpa Yuga is when Krishna appears. That means there's been 7 cycles of Satya, Treta, Dwarpa, Kali, Satya, all the way back. And then it gets back into this Chakshush Manvantara. Understand? So it's a long time ago that Satyabrat Muni had this darshan, which is incredible that he should have this darshan so long ago. And Sri Satyabrat Muni describes the very same enchanting form of Sri Krishna as a 2.5-year-old baby running away from Mother Yashoda. As he fled from his mother, he repeatedly looked behind him with terrified glances. Terrified glances. His earrings shimmered on his cheeks, and his neck was decorated by 3 graceful lines, like a conch shell. Radharani's neck is also decorated with 3 graceful lines. Other than the auspicious gold cord around his waist and the pair of ankle bells clasping his worshipful lotus feet, resonating with unsurpassed charm, his tiny form was completely naked, but so captivating. Satyabrat Muni is utterly captivated by this form. The conclusion that the manifestation of Sri Krishna's beauty is relative to his devotees' love for him is also established by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Brihat Bhagavatamrita. He says, the unique qualities of Sri Krishna's beauty manifest in accordance with the unique qualities of his associates. This is why Krishna is so brilliant in Vrindavan, because of the quality of the Brijbasis' love for him. He's reciprocating. Yeyatamam pravadante tam sataiva prajamyaham. He will reciprocate with his devotees. So the devotees who have the highest love for him are the Brijbasis. And out of the Brijbasis, the Sakas have so much dedicated affection for him. Out of the Sakas, it's the Sakis themselves who have 100% sold out devotion for Krishna. And of all the Sakis, it's Sri Radha and Chandravali, both of them. They have absolute sold out attraction for Krishna. But out of the 2, Radhika has the most abundance of prem. And it's this prem that Krishna wants to experience and taste. Understand it. It's very, very beautiful. In order to bestow his mercy upon the souls who were indifferent to him and to bless them with Braja Prem, the love exhibited by the eternal inhabitants of Braj, Sri Krishna manifested his beautiful form as a fresh youth. Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusyam Deha Ashritata. We say this verse. Bhajate Tadrishi Kritva Yashudva Tatpraro Bhavet. Krishna manifests his human-like form to attract the jivas to these incredible pastimes, which will break the. We said the other day or yesterday that how can Lakshmi Devi be attracted into the Rasa Leela? She can only be attracted by the absolute beauty. That beauty, when it predominates the heart, it leaves behind any shadow of our previous attachments. This verse, Vikriditam Brajavatubi Ichamta Vishnu, Shradanvitu Nushrunyat Artha Varenyam Ya, Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Pratilabhya Karamam, Hridrogamasava Pinoti Acharena Dira. This is the last verse of the Rasa Panchadiyas chapters.
The last verse that Shukadev goes, that by becoming attracted to hearing initially about the beauty and speciality of Krishna, then we will sing about that attraction in kirtan. And from that kirtan will come smaranam. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. This is what the first line is actually indicating. And then this Bhaktim Param, this topmost bhakti, will manifest in the heart. And then after that, then the disease of lust will go from the heart. It's not that we try to address the disease of lust first or exclusively secondary to our attraction to Krishna. First must come the attraction to Krishna. And then naturally, these anarthas and lesser considerations will just run away like ghosts. And we gave the example yesterday how to get the air out of a pot. You put something into it. So, how to get the rubbish out of our contaminated beings? We pour the beauty and sweetness of Krishna's pastimes in there in excess, as much as we are able to digest. We pour it and pour it and pour it. And then automatically, these lower considerations will just run away. On my website, there's a very beautiful essay about the Venu Gita introduction. I'm always encouraging the devotees to please read that. It's actually in 3 parts. There's the actual essay in English, then there's a breakdown of the points, and then there's a summary. So there's 3 ways you can read this essay, 3 versions of the same essay. And this is saying exactly the same point that I'm describing here. My Gurudev says that it's someone is of an atheistic nature if they're not attracted to the sweet pastimes of Krishna. If they say, no, 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 I don't have the adhika. Some devotees are always saying, oh, I don't have the adhika. I don't have the adhika. I'm so fallen. Oh, look at my humility. Can you see how humble I am? I become famous because I'm so humble, right? You know, understand how these things kind of work in the consciousness. Sometimes the devotees are like that. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I can't, I'll just stay in the path of Vaidhi Bhakti. Then stay there. Stay there forever. Yes, you will never get the adhikar because you will never take the antidote, which is to hear the sweet pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And my Gurudev is giving this directly in this Damodarastakam. This whole Damodarastakam is only packed with Leela Gata, Ras Leela Gata, about the ras between Mother Yashoda and Krishna, and eventually all the Brijvasis. This third verse we sing, Iti driksva lilabhya ananda kunde. This is like drowning in a pool of ananda, of bliss. You understanding what I'm saying? In order to bestow his mercy upon the souls who were indifferent to him and to bless them. That's what I quoted that verse, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam. The love exhibited by the eternal residents of Braj. Sri Krishna manifests his beautiful form as a fresh youth, the best of dancers, dressed as a cowherd boy, holding a flute in his hands. This very form of Sri Krishna is the origin and basis of all his forms in Mathura and Dwarka, and is also the source of all other avatars. I'm just going to finish this small section, then I'll stop. Even though the main subject of Sri Sanatana Goswami's commentary on this verse is Krishna's childhood pastimes, he has quoted a description of Sri Krishna's beautiful form, exhibited at the time of Rasalila, in order to convey the extraordinary glory of that particular form. So we're hearing about Krishna's form, and his highest, sweetest form is actually manifesting in the Rasalila arena. So we'll continue on page 21, halfway down. Tomorrow we'll have the whole time and we can go through perhaps initially some structure, an overview of the 8 verses, because it's a beautiful waves of increasing sweetness and speciality. We start off with what is called mantra mai upasana, which is like in the second verse, when you're just focusing on a single pastime. Then the third verse, iti drik swalilabhya, is when it goes into swarasiki upasana, when it goes into contemplating many leelas. And then in the fourth verse, varam deva moksham, he doesn't even want moksha. So then the intensity of his prema is building again, and so on and so on. So we'll discuss more of that tomorrow. So Damodarastakam ki jai, Vraja-mandala Parikrama ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Golda Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Namam Ishwarang Sachidanandarupam Rasat Kundalam Gokule Vrajamanam Yashodabiyalukaladabramanam Puram Drishamatyanta Sodrutya Govyam Yugam Yamunetra Yugam Vridantam Param Bhuja Shutmena Satantanetram Mushvasakam Pati Rekanta Sita Dhamodara Bhaktivada Vichitra Lila Ananda Kunde Sagosham Lila Chantam Bhagavayantam Tadiyashita Yeshu Akhirjitatmam Punaprimadastam Sataritivande Varam Deva Moksham Namasavadimva Yashanayane Anga Seshadavina Idam Deva Purnata Gopala Balam Sadavinadasya Nura Santimane Aidam Temokam Vajam Avyaktanivaya Visam Kundale Shitya Raptesha Gopya Mucharitam Bimba Rakadaram Me Anasya Virasa Mayam Vasalayame Namo Devadamodaya Namo Vishnu Rasika Pavoduka Chalakimata Vipadishi Vishnu Vinambadanu Yahari Shanamakyam Edekshitesha Nivela Jogada Mutayvayatma Jayamati Bhakti Bhajokridanta Brahma Bhakti Sakame Prayacha Namo Shivaya Damodarastakam Namaste Sudame Sudakitidame Tadi Udarayate Vishwasaname Namoradikayata Diya Priyaya Namo Anatanilaya Divaya Kutya Damodarastakaya Ekadasi Priyaya Damodarastakaya Devaya Sukam Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Damodara Jaya Atta Damodara Raja Damodara Raja Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, Haribo,
Tomorrow. So just a brief kirtan tonight. Ekadasi Vrat. Thank you. So we're still offering our lamps. But tomorrow is a rest day. So it means resting our feet and exercising our hearing abilities. So tomorrow we'll just discuss from that page 21 in the Damodarastakam, and we'll try to complete at least the first verse, and perhaps we can touch on the beginning of the second verse. So Ekadasi Brat ki jai, Vraja-mandala Parikrama ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Vaishnavas ki jai, Golda Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo, Vanshakaupatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubevacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.